I got a box beneath the bed with letters no one ever read. Some are folded, some are faded, some still carry words I said. There's one I wrote to my father when I was 29. I wanted to tell him I understood, but I ran out of time. Another one to an old friend we lost somewhere along the way. I kept saying I'd call him someday, but someday never came. There's one for my children from when they were small. I wrote about the nights I worked and missed their bedtime calls. I wanted them to know I tried, even when I got it wrong. I wanted them to know their father's heart was with them all along. Funny how a piece of paper can hold what your mouth can't say. You think you have forever, then forever slips away. These are the letters I never sent, words I carried through the years. Every I'm sorry, every I love you, every truth I hid behind my fear. These are the letters I never sent, pages full of things I knew. I can't change the road behind me, but I can finally read them through. I found one with my mother's name written in my younger hand. I don't remember writing it, but I remember where I stood. You said, I'm trying to be a better man, I'm trying to understand. Funny how that younger man was already doing all he can. So tonight I opened every letter and I read them one by one. I didn't burn them, didn't hide them, I just let the words come home. Some things can't be repaired, some roads can't be walked again, but forgiveness doesn't always need another person's hand. Sometimes you forgive yourself for being only human then. These are the letters I never sent, words I carried through the years. Every I'm sorry, every I love you, every truth I hid behind yeah, that's alright. Some words were meant to be understood long after they were written down. I've got a box beneath the bed, but I don't need to hide it now. The letters never found their way, but somehow they brought me home. I used to count the years by birthdays and Christmas lights. Now I count them by the faces that I don't see anymore. The years took some good friends from me, some before their time. Took the color from my father's hair, then took him from my life. They took the strength from my shoulders, the quickness from my feet. Took a few dreams I was carrying and left them in the street. The years took little pieces I didn't notice when they left. A favorite shirt, an old front porch, the sound of someone else's steps. They took the summer afternoons when the children played outside. Took the man I was at 30 and replaced him with this life. I used to fight the passing years like I could make them turn around. Now I hear them in the quiet house when there's no one else around. Look at what the years took, look at what they left behind. They took the things I thought would last, left me with my mind. They took some names from my phone, some faces from the room, but they left me all these memories and a little more truth. I can't hold back the river, I can't bargain with the rain. The years took what they came to take, and I learned to live with what remains. I still have mornings with my coffee, still have songs I like to play, still have children who call me, even if they live far away. I still have my father's lessons, though his voice is gone from here. And every time I help somebody, I feel him drawing near. Maybe time was never stealing, maybe time was only changing, turning boys into their fathers, turning houses into memories. We spend so much of life holding with both hands around the past, but nothing stays the way it started. nothing ever really does. Look at what the years took. Look at what they left behind. They took the man I used to be and gave me clearer eyes. They took some names from my phone, some faces from the room, but they left me all these memories and enough love to carry through. I can't hold back the river, I can't bargain with the rain. The years took what they came to take, and I thank them for what remains. The years took more than I wanted, but they taught me how to see. Sometimes losing who you were is how you find who you need to be. Pulled into the driveway just before the sun went down. Same old trees beside the fence, same quiet little town. The paint is getting older, the porch still leans a little left. There's a crack beside the window that I remember from my youth. I put my hand upon the doorway like I'd done 1,000 times, and for a second I was 17 before the world changed my mind. The kitchen table's still standing, though the chairs have changed around. There's a faded line on the wall where my father measured me growing up. I found an old pair of work boots sitting underneath the stairs. I don't know why I kept on looking. Maybe I knew they'd still be there. Some places don't remember faces, they just remember time. And every room can hold a story if you stay there long enough to listen. This is the house I came home to after all those years away. The walls look a little smaller now, but the memories never changed. This is the house I came home to with a lifetime in my hands. I thought I left it all behind me, now I finally understand. You don't really leave your roots behind, no matter where you go. Somewhere beneath the years you carry, there's a place that still feels like home. I remember Sunday mornings, my mother calling from the hall, my father fixing something while the radio played soft. I remember being restless, thinking life was somewhere else. I couldn't wait to leave that driveway, couldn't wait to be myself. Now I know what he was doing when he sat outside at night. He wasn't waiting for tomorrow, he was grateful for the life. Maybe that's the thing about growing older, you finally see what you couldn't then. The man you thought was standing still was just learning how to understand. This is the house I came home to after all those years away. The walls look a little smaller now, but the memories never changed. This is the house I came home to, and I don't need to run no more. I've spent half my life looking forward, now I'm thankful for what came before. You don't really leave your roots behind, no matter where you go. Somewhere beneath the years you carry, there's a place that still feels like home. I turned the porch light on and sat down by the door. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking for anything anymore. There was a time this house was never quiet. Little footsteps running down the hall. Toys were scattered underneath the table, and somebody was always calling from the other room. Back when the kids were young, Saturday began before the sun. There were shoes beside the doorway and a ball out in the yard. I was tired from another work week, but they'd pull me from the bed. Dad, come on, you've gotta see this. And I'd follow where they led. We didn't have a lot of money, but somehow we had enough. A little house, an old car, and a backyard full of dust. We'd eat dinner at the kitchen table. They'd argue over who was right. Then 10 minutes later they'd be laughing like nothing happened that night. I used to think those days were ordinary, just another week going by. Didn't know I was living in the years I'd spend the rest of my life missing. Back when the kids were young, I thought the days would never end. I didn't know the little moments would become my greatest friends. Back when the kids looking toward tomorrow, never knowing what I had. If I could sit inside one evening, just one more time, I'd leave the dishes on the table and stay until the lights went out. I remember teaching them to drive. My hands were shaking on the wheel. I tried to look like I was calm, but they knew exactly how I felt. I remember first days at school, backpacks bigger than their backs. I stood beside the front door smiling, then I turned around and cried. Time doesn't ask permission, it just keeps moving on. One day you're tying little shoelaces, next day they're already gone. You spend your whole life building, trying to give them what they need. Then one morning you wake up and they're teaching you to let them leave. Back when the kids were young, I thought the days would never end. Now I know those little moments were the life I should have treasured then. Back when the kids were young, the house was loud and full, and if I could go back for one night, I'd listen to every word.
I'd leave the dishes on the table,
I'd leave the lights turned on,
I'd sit beside their little beds
until I heard them breathing soft. Back when the kids were young, I didn't know how fast it would go. Now every quiet room reminds me how much I love them so. There was a year I still remember, though I don't talk about it much. The winter seemed to last forever, and every door was closing shut. I lost my job in early spring. The bills kept coming through the door. We counted every dollar twice and wondered what tomorrow was for. The old car finally gave up in the middle of a rainy night. I pushed it down that empty road while my wife held the flashlight. By summer we had sold some things we thought we'd never have to sell. The television, the old brown couch, my father's tools as well. I remember looking at the kids, trying trying hard to keep my face. I told him we'll be alright somehow, though I didn't know the way. Some nights I sat out on the porch and counted every loss. I thought a man was measured by the things he could provide. That was the year we lost everything, or so I thought back then. We lost the things we thought we needed and found out what we had. We still had supper at the table, we still had hands to hold, we still had somebody saying, don't worry, we'll get through. That was the year we lost everything and somehow made it through. I wouldn't wish those days on anyone, but they showed me what was true. There was a night the power went out, the whole house turned to black. We lit a candle in the kitchen and started laughing at the dark. My youngest told a stupid joke, my oldest spilled his drink. For just a little while that night, nobody had to think. Years have passed since that winter, and life gave some things back. A little work, a little luck, a little light along the path. But I still remember that old table and the people sitting there. We had almost nothing in our pockets, but somehow we had enough. That was the year we lost everything, so I thought back then. We lost the things we thought we needed and found out what we had. We still had supper at the table, we still had hands to hold, we still had somebody saying, don't worry, we'll get through. That was the year we lost everything, but it gave me something too. It taught me that a house ain't home and money ain't what holds you. I still remember that old winter when we thought the world was through. Funny how the hardest years can show you what is true. There's an empty bedroom down the hall. I don't go in there much anymore. The bed is made, the windows closed. There's nothing lying on the floor. There used to be a jacket on that chair and books beside the bed. A her shoes beneath the window, and posters hanging overhead. I remember calling from the kitchen, "Are you coming down to eat?" Sometimes I'd have to call 3 times before I'd hear their feet. Now the house gets quiet after supper. The television talks to me. I still catch myself making too much food. Then remember there's just me. The photographs are on the dresser. They're old things packed away. Funny how a room can hold a lifetime after everybody walks away. I used to think I'd miss the noise, the running and the mess. But what I really miss are those little moments I didn't know I'd never get again. There's an empty bedroom down the hall, but my heart knows why it's there. They grew up, they found their own roads, and I helped them get somewhere. There's an empty bedroom down the hall, and sometimes I leave the door ajar. Not because I'm waiting for them, just because that's where they are. They didn't leave because they stopped loving me. They left because I taught them how to go. And that's the hardest thing about being a father. You raise them strong enough to let them go. My son calls on Sunday morning. My daughter sends a picture now and then. They tell me about their busy lives, and I smile before the call can end. I don't tell them when I hang up how quiet the house becomes. I just say take care of yourself, and tell them I love them. Maybe that's what a home is for, to give somebody roots, then open up the door one day and let them choose their road. I thought being a father meant keeping everybody close. Now I know it means standing back when the ones you love need space to grow. There's an empty bedroom down the hall, but I don't call it lonely now. It's proof that little hands grew strong and found their own way out. There's an empty bedroom down the hall, and I leave the door ajar. didn't leave because they stopped loving me. They left because I taught them how to go. And maybe that's the hardest kind of love a father ever has to know. There's an empty bedroom down the hall, and the house is quiet tonight. I turn the porch light on, and somehow everything feels right. There's an empty bedroom down the hall. I don't go in there much anymore. The bed is made, the windows closed. There's nothing lying on the floor. There used to be. Got a few things I wish I'd done different, a few roads I wouldn't take again. But I'm sitting here beneath the porch light, and I don't want to change a thing tonight. I should've called my father more, should've listened when he talked, should've stayed beside my children a few more times when they asked. I worked too many Saturdays, chased things I thought I needed. There were years I barely noticed how quickly they were leaving. I said some words I wish I'd swallowed. I stayed quiet when I should have spoken. I trusted some people too much and broke a few promises I'd given. I made a life with imperfect hands. I did the best I knew. Some days I got it right, some days I didn't have a clue. But every wrong turn brought me somewhere. Every scar became a sign, and every road I thought was wasted left something behind. So I got no regrets tonight, not the kind that keep me awake. I've made mistakes, I've lost my way, I've given more than I could take. I got no regrets tonight. I'm not saying I got it right, I'm just saying I can look behind me and still be alright. The man I was had to make those choices to become the man I am. I wouldn't erase every broken road just because I didn't understand. My children don't remember everything I wish they could remember, but they remember the Sunday mornings and the old songs in December. My father left me more than words. He left me how to stand, and every time I reach for someone, I feel his old work-worn hands. Maybe regret is just a shadow that follows where you've been. You don't have to chase it away, you just learn to live with it. Tonight I forgive the younger man who didn't know what I know now. He was scared, he was trying, and he was figuring it out. So I got no regrets tonight, not the kind that keep me awake. I've made mistakes, I've lost my way, I've given more than I could take. Place behind me, I don't have to carry it with me. The man I was had to make those choices to become the man I am. I wouldn't erase every broken road, because it brought me here tonight. The porch lights burning low, night is almost gone. I've made my peace with yesterday, and I'm still here moving on. No regrets tonight, no regrets tonight. There's an old guitar by the chair, got a little dust on the strings. It ain't worth much to anybody, but to me it's worth everything. I bought it back when I was young, with money I could hardly spare. The finish was already worn, but I didn't really care. I played it in a little rented room when the winter wouldn't quit. Had a job that paid the bills and a heart that didn't know much yet. I played it when my father died, couldn't find the words to pray. So I sat beside the window and played until the light turned gray. I played it when my children came and the house was full of noise. Little hands would touch the strings while I tried to teach them chords. Funny thing guitar, it remembers what you don't. Every scar along the wooden side knows a story that you won't. That old guitar by the chair has heard every road I walked. Every night I couldn't sleep, every word I couldn't talk. It's heard the sound of leaving, it's heard the sound of home. And when nobody was listening, it kept me from feeling alone. That old guitar by the chair still has a little song left in it. And after all these years I've learned, sometimes that's enough to live with. There are scratches near the sound hole from a summer long ago. I was teaching my boy 3 chords on a Sunday afternoon. He couldn't keep his fingers straight, he kept laughing at the strings. I told him, son, you'll get it someday. He said, Dad, I think I already did. Years have taken more than I expected and given more than I could see. Some doors close without a warning, some open quietly. I used to think I'd need an answer for every road that made me bleed. Now I just pick another old song and let the silence breathe. That old guitar by the chair has heard every road I've walked. Every night I couldn't sleep, every word I couldn't talk. It's heard the sound of leaving, it's heard the sound of home. And when nobody was listening, it kept me from feeling alone. That old guitar by the chair still sings a little out of tune. But after all these years, I think that's what makes it true. There's an old guitar by the chair, and the porch light's burning low. I don't play it like I used to, but I still know where the old songs go. I still know where the old songs go. There's a coffee cup beside me, the clock says 2:13. Funny how a quiet house can get so loud when you're alone. I pour boarded sometime after midnight. Thought I'd sit and clear my head, but the years came through the window and started talking instead. There's a mark beside the doorway where my youngest used to grow. I can still see that little pencil line from 20 years ago. The refrigerator keeps humming like it's got somewhere to be, and an old photograph is lying halfway underneath the TV. I remember working double shifts just to keep the lights on. I thought those days would last forever. Now they're 20 years gone. You spend your life chasing tomorrow till tomorrow turns to then, and all the things you thought you'd have time for don't always come around again. Now the coffee's gone cold, but I don't mind tonight. I've been carrying these memories like a suitcase all my life. Yeah, the coffee's gone cold and the house is still in dark. Funny how the smallest things can leave the biggest mark. I don't need another answer, I don't need to know it all. I'll sit here with the silence and listen when it calls. There was a winter I remember when the furnace barely worked. I wrapped my coat around the kids and told them not to worry. We laughed around a little table with the rain against the glass. Back then I wanted life to hurry. Now I'd give anything to go back. But you can't hold a season, and you can't stop a train. You can't keep a child from growing or keep the years from changing names. So I'll let the old days visit, I won't ask them to stay. Some memories are meant to pass through like headlights in the rain. Now the coffee's gone cold, but there's warmth inside this room. I've lost some things along the way, but I found some peace here too. Yeah, the coffee's gone cold and the night is getting thin. Maybe life ain't about holding on, maybe it's learning when to let go. I don't need another answer, I don't need to know it all. I'll sit here with the silence and listen when it calls. The clock says 4:07 and the sky is turning gray. There's still coffee in the cup, but I think I'll leave it that way. spent so many years counting what was gone. Never stopped to look around and see what was still here. There's an old guitar by the chair, still missing a little shine. There's a coffee cup beside it and a photograph from another time. There's a phone that rings on Sunday with my children's voices on the line. They don't live beneath this roof anymore, but they're still a part of mine. There's a lesson from my father that I carry every day. Keep your word, take care of people, and don't be afraid to stay. There's an old scar on my left hand from a job I can't remember now. I used to hate the market left, I kinda like it somehow. Maybe life ain't measured by the things we couldn't keep. Maybe what survives the years is what was planted deep. Look at the things that stayed after everything was gone. The love I thought I'd lost, the strength I carried on. Look at the things that stayed, the lessons and the names, the hands that helped me through the dark, the fire that still remains. I lost some years I can't get back, I lost some people too. But when I look around tonight, there's still enough to get me through. There's a Sunday morning photograph with everybody squeezed together. Some are gone and some are older, but the love is still there. I used to look at all the empty chairs and only see the loss. Now I see the people who once sat there, and I'm grateful for the time we had. You don't need a perfect life to say you've been blessed. Sometimes making it to morning is already more than enough. The years can take your younger face, they can take your restless plans. But if you wake up with a heart that's soft, you've still got something in your hands. Look at the things that stay after everything was gone. The love I thought I'd lost was carrying me all along. Look at the things that stay, the lessons and the names, the people who changed my life, still living in my veins. I lost some years I can't get back, I lost some people too. But when I look around tonight, there's still enough to get me through. Porch lights burning low, the night is almost through. I've lost a lot along the way, but I've still got something true. a lot a man can carry without ever showing the weight. You learn to smile across the table and say, I'm doing okay. I said, don't worry, I'll handle it. More times than I can count. I kept the bills inside my pocket and the fear inside my mouth. I said, I'm tired, that's all it is. When I was running out of strength, I learned to keep my shoulders straight and never show the cracks. When my father got sick, I stood beside his bed. We talked about the weather, but not the things inside our heads. I wanted to say I love you. I wanted to say I'm scared. Instead I asked if he needed water and straightened up his chair. Maybe we were raised that way, to work and not complain, to swallow every hard goodbye and call it being strong. There are things a man never says, words that stay behind his teeth, like I'm afraid of losing you, or I need somebody with me. There are things a man never says, till the years have come and gone. You think you've got another day, and suddenly the day is gone. So if you hear me say I love you, don't make me say it twice. I spent too many years believing silence was the price of being strong. My children used to ask me, why are you always working late? I'd say I'm doing what I have to do and hope they'd understand someday. Now I see them with their own lives, and I hear myself in them. They say I'm fine, Dad, don't worry, and I know exactly what they mean. So tonight I'm telling this old porch what I never told the rest. I was scared more times than I admitted, and I didn't always know what came next. I made mistakes I can't undo. I hurt some people I loved, but I was trying with the hands I had and the heart I was given. There are things a man never says, words that stay behind his teeth, like I'm afraid of losing you, or I need somebody with me. There are things a man never says, till the years have come and gone. You think you've got another day, and suddenly the day is gone. So if you hear me say I love you, don't make me say it twice. I spent too many years believing silence was the price of being strong. I don't have many words tonight, but maybe I don't need them anymore. If you ever wondered what I meant, you were always worth more than I could say. I took the long way home tonight, didn't have anywhere to be. Just follow that old county road and let the years ride next to me. I passed the town where I was 20, where I thought I'd live forever. The old gas station is gone now, but the water tower's still there. I passed the field where my father worked before his hands grew still, and for a moment I could see him walking up that same old hill. I drove past the first small house where my children learned to walk. I remember carrying them inside when they fell asleep in the car. The windows have a different color, someone else lives there today, but I smiled when I drove past it and let the memories stay. I spent half my life believing home was somewhere I would find. Maybe I've been carrying it every mile inside my mind. I've been taking the long way home for most of my life, through the good days and the hard ones, through the wrong turns and the nights. I've been taking the long way home, and now I finally know you don't have to reach a certain place to know where you belong. Every road left something in me, every goodbye left a mark. Every hand I ever held still lights a little piece of the dark. I've got miles behind my shoulders and a few more left to drive. Some roads I wouldn't travel again, some I'd take twice. I don't miss being younger now, not the way I used to think. I just miss the people beside me before the years began to shift. The road doesn't owe you answers, the past doesn't owe you peace. Sometimes you just keep moving till the questions finally cease. And if tomorrow takes something, I'll try not to hold too tight. I've learned that love isn't keeping, it's being grateful for the time. I've been taking the long way home for most of my life, through the good days and the hard ones, through the wrong turns and the nights. I've been taking the long way home, and now I finally know home was never just a place, it was everywhere I learned to love. Every road left something in me, every goodbye left a mark. Every person who changed my life still lights a little piece of the dark. So I'll take the long way home, let the old highway roll got a guitar in the back seat, and a little more peace in my soul. Porch light will be waiting when I finally turn in. No matter how far I've wandered, I know where I've been. I've been taking the long way home all my life, and tonight I'm almost there. I remember my father's hands before I remember his voice. They were rough from a lifetime of work, and they never made much noise. There were cracks across his knuckles, dirt beneath his nails. He'd come home just before supper with the smell of steel and rain. He'd wash his hands beside the sink while my mother set the table. He never talked about the hard days, he just did what he was able. He taught me how to hold a hammer, how to fix a broken door, how to keep working through the winter when your hands were getting sore. He'd say, son, a man keeps his word, even when nobody knows. I didn't understand those words till I had children of my own. Funny how father's lessons take a lifetime to come through. You think you're walking on your own till you hear his voice in you. I still see my father's hands resting on that old workbench. Every scar and every broken nail was a story he never told. I still feel my father's hands on my shoulder when I was young. He never had the words for love, but somehow I knew where I belong. Those hands built more than houses, those hands carried more than weight. And when I look down at my own two hands, I see what he left behind. When my first child came into this world, I was scared down to my bones. I stood beside that hospital bed, wondering how to make a home. I looked down at my trembling hands, and suddenly I understood. My father must have felt the same way, though he never said he would. I wish I'd asked him more questions. I wish I'd stayed a little longer. I wish I'd known that quiet men can carry hearts just as strong. But time don't give back what it takes, and the years don't turn around. So I carry what he gave me, and I try to pass it down. I still see my father's hands resting on that old workbench. Every scar and every broken nail was a story he never told. I still feel my father's hands, though he's been gone for many years. And sometimes when I hold my children, I swear he's standing here. Those hands built more than houses, those hands carried more than weight. And when I look down at my own two hands, I see what he left behind. I remember my father's hands before I remember his voice. They were rough from a lifetime of work, and they never made much noise. There were cracks across his knuckles, dirt beneath his nails. He'd come home just before supper with the smell of steel and rain. He'd wash his hands beside the clock is getting close to 5. The darkest part is almost gone. I've been sitting here for hours, watching shadows turn to dawn. There's a little light behind the trees, and the birds are waking slow. The coffee's cold beside my chair, but I don't mind anymore. I used to hate these quiet hours, when every memory came back, and now I let them sit beside me without asking what they lack. I've lost some people I still miss, I've made mistakes I can't erase. I've watched my children leave this house and build a life in another place. I've carried things I should have dropped, I've held on longer than I should, but somewhere between the dark and dawn I started seeing things I couldn't then. Maybe peace don't come like thunder, maybe it arrives this way, quiet as the morning light after you survive the night. When the morning comes, I'll still have a few scars, I'll still remember every name of the ones who shaped my heart. When the morning comes, I won't ask for yesterday. I had my time, I had my road, and I walked it all the way. If tomorrow brings another storm, I'll meet it when it comes. For tonight I've made my peace, and I'm ready for the sun. My father's lessons are still with me, my children's voices are still near. The old guitar still knows my hands, and the porch lights burn for years. I don't need to fill the empty rooms, I don't need to chase the past. Some things were beautiful because they were never meant to last. The night taught me a simple thing: you can't keep every flame, but you can be grateful that it burned and carried warmth from where it came. So I'll leave the door a little open, let the morning find its way. I've got nothing left to prove tonight, I've got nothing left to say. I still remember every name of the ones who shaped my heart. When the morning comes, I won't ask for yesterday. I had my time, I had my road, and I walked it ready for the sun. The sky is turning silver. The night is letting go. I can hear the morning coming, and I'm not afraid anymore. No, I'm not afraid anymore. Rain on the tin roof, 3 in the morning, the kind of sound that takes you somewhere before you know you're gone. I remember that little house at the edge of the county line. Rain would find every hole up there, and we'd put a bucket underneath. The heater barely worked that winter. We wore our coats inside. My wife would make a pot of coffee while the water ran outside. The kids were sleeping in the next room, wrapped up underneath old quilts. I was counting what was left of payday, trying to make it last till Friday. There wasn't much upon the table, but there was always something there. A bowl of soup, some bread and butter, and somebody who still cared. Funny what the years remember, not the things you thought they'd keep. I don't remember what I couldn't buy. I remember who was there with me. Rain on the tin roof, running down the glass. I thought those nights would break us, but somehow they became our past. Rain on the tin roof, and a house that wasn't much. We didn't have a lot back then, but we had enough to love. Now when I hear that rain come down, I don't hear the cold anymore. I hear little voices in the kitchen and footsteps across the floor. There were mornings I was tired, before the working day began. I'd pull my boots on in the darkness and go do what a man does. Sometimes I wanted something better. Sometimes I every evening when I came home, there were familiar faces waiting too. Years have covered up those houses. Some are gone, some changed their names. But every time the rain starts falling, I can still walk back that way. Maybe we weren't rich in those days. Maybe we didn't need to be. We had a roof that leaked in places, and a family underneath. Rain on the tin roof, running down the glass. I thought those nights would break us, but somehow they became our past. Rain on the tin roof, and a house that wasn't much. We didn't have a lot back then, but we had enough to love. Now when I hear that rain come down, I don't hear the cold anymore. I hear little voices in the kitchen, and footsteps across the floor. Still falling somewhere in my mind. Funny how the hardest years can become the sweetest kind. Midnight on the porch again, old wooden floor beneath my feet. The whole house sleeping down the hall, and the night is talking back to me. There's a coffee cup beside my chair, been cold for an hour or two. The screen door moves with the evening wind, like it used to when the kids came through. There's a photograph above the light, edges worn and turning brown. I see a younger man standing there before the years came slowing down. My father's hands were rough like stone from years of working in the sun. He never said he loved me much, but somehow I always knew he did. I remember that old pickup truck, the radio playing low. He'd say, "Son, keep your word and work hard." Then he'd watch me go. Funny how the years can disappear like smoke beneath the moon. You spend your life trying to get somewhere, then wonder where it all went so soon. But the porch light still burns, though there's nobody waiting tonight. I've lost some things along the way. I've learned some things about goodbye. And the porch light still burns like a little piece of home. Maybe some roads don't lead you back. Maybe you just learn to walk them alone. My children have their own front doors, their own long roads to run. I still hear their footsteps in this house from when they were young. There were days I should have stayed a little longer, nights I should have listened more. You don't know the weight of a moment till you can't go back anymore. I've carried every name I couldn't say, every word I wish I'd said. But tonight I let the silence come and sit beside me instead. I don't need to change the past, I don't need to know why. Some things leave a scar on you, some things teach you how to survive. And the porch light still burns, though there's nobody waiting tonight. I've lost some things along the way, but I've made my peace with goodbye. Yeah, the porch light still burns, and the old house knows my name. I can't bring back the years behind me, but I wouldn't trade them all away. The porch light still burns while the stars fade in the sky. I've got a guitar, an old wooden chair, and one more quiet night to get by. Morning ain't here yet, so I ain't going anywhere. I'll sit beneath this porch light and let the memories pass. I've been holding on to things long after they were gone. Old photographs in empty rooms, old songs I still put on. I kept my father's jacket hanging in the closet door, like somehow keeping all his things could keep him here a little more. I kept the keys to an old house that I haven't seen in years. I kept a box of letters and a few unnecessary tears. I kept the children's drawings from when they were 5 and 6. I kept every little birthday card with crooked lines and fingerprints. I thought if I threw something away, I'd be throwing part of them away. But memories don't live in boxes, they live in what we became. I spent a lifetime learning how to hold, how to build, and how to stay. Now I'm learning something harder, how to let a little go each day. I'm still learning how to let go without feeling like I'm losing. Still learning how to say goodbye without calling it forgetting. I'm still learning how to let go of the man I used to be. Some things aren't meant to follow us all the way into our old age. If I loved it, I don't lose it. If it mattered, it remains. I can open up my hands tonight and still remember every name. My daughter has her own life now. My son has his own road. I don't ask them to come running back, I just want them to be well. The house doesn't need to be crowded for me to know I'm loved. Sometimes a Sunday phone call is more than enough. Letting go ain't giving up. It ain't saying it didn't matter. It's thinking every chapter and turning to the next page. The river doesn't hold the water, the trees don't hold the leaves. Maybe that's the lesson I've been missing. Maybe that's what growing means. I'm still learning how to let go without feeling like I'm losing. Still learning how to say goodbye without calling it forgetting. I'm still learning how to let go, and I'm finally getting free. I don't have to carry every yesterday to know what yesterday gave me. If I loved it, I don't lose it. If it mattered, it remains. I can open up my hands tonight and still remember every name. The porch light's still burning, but I don't need to wait. Some things are meant to leave, so something new can take their place. I'm still learning, still learning how to let go. I've been sitting on this porch longer than I planned tonight. The sky's almost turning blue, and everything feels right. I've got a few more gray hairs and a few more lines around my eyes. I've got names I still remember and a few goodbyes I never liked. I've got an old guitar beside me. I've got pictures in a drawer. I've got children living far away, but I don't feel alone anymore. I know I wasn't always patient. I know I didn't always listen. There were years I worked too hard and missed the things I should have seen. I can't go back and fix those moments. I can't make the young days stay, but I can thank the man I used to be for finding his way to today. I spent a lifetime looking forward, then I spent some looking back. Now I'm standing in this moment, and I don't need anything I lack. I'm alright now, not because the road was easy, not because I didn't lose, not because I got every answer or always knew what to do. With what I can't change, the people I've loved, the roads I've walked, the years that slipped away. I still got a little life left, and I'm gonna let it be. I'm not waiting for a better man. I'm learning to be me. Porch light's still burning, the coffee's getting cold. The old house makes its little sounds like it always used to do. Somewhere down the hallway there's an empty room tonight, but I hear my children's voices when I close my eyes. My father's hands are in mine, in everything I build, and every time I tell somebody, don't worry, we'll get through. If tomorrow takes another piece, I'll try not to be afraid. I've learned that love is not possession, and life was never ours to save. If the road gets hard again, I'll take it one more mile. I've spent enough years fighting life. Now I think I'll let it smile. I'm alright now, not because the road was easy, not because I didn't lose, because I learned that broken things can still have something beautiful to give. I'm alright now, I've made peace with yesterday. The people I've loved, the mistakes I made, the years that slipped away. I've still got a little life left, and I'm gonna let it be. I've got this old guitar, this porch light, and a little peace in me. finally here, and the night has done its part. I don't need to carry every memory to prove it mattered to my heart. The porch light can go dark now, there's sunlight on the floor. I spend my whole life coming home, and I don't need to search anymore. I'm alright. I'm alright now. I spent my whole life saying I can handle it. Maybe I believed it. Maybe I just didn't know another way. I was the one they called when something broke, the one who knew what needed doing. I learned to keep my hands steady, even when my heart was moving. I went to work when I was hurting, came home when the day was done, put a smile around the dinner table, and told everybody I was fine. I carried boxes, carried babies, carried worries nobody could see, carried every we'll be alright when I wasn't sure we would be. I thought being strong meant standing, no matter how hard the rain. I didn't know a man could bend and still remain the same. There's a point somewhere in every life when the body tells the truth. You can hide a lot behind your eyes, but time will tell on you. A man gets tired too, even if he never says it. He gets tired of being strong, tired of carrying the weight. A man gets tired too. He gets scared, he gets lost. Sometimes he needs somebody to sit beside him in the dark. I spent half my life believing I had to carry everything. Now I'm learning there's no shame in putting something down. I take the long way home. Sometimes I sit before I go inside. I watch the evening settle down and let the world pass by. I don't need to fix every problem, I don't need to win every fight. Some things can wait until tomorrow, some things don't need me tonight. If you're listening, son, you don't have to be made of stone. If you're hurting, tell somebody. You don't always have to stand alone. I wish somebody told me that when I was 25. You can be a good man and still need help sometimes. gets tired too. Even if he never says it, he gets tired of being strong, tired of carrying the weight. A man gets tired too, and that's alright tonight. You don't have to solve the whole world before you turn out the light. I spent half my life believing I had to carry everything. Now I'm learning there's no shame in putting something down. So tonight I'll leave the work until tomorrow. Let the phone ring if it wants to. I'll sit beneath the porch light and do nothing for a while. And for the first time in a long time, it feels like enough. If I could sit beside that younger man for just one night, I'd tell him a few things he probably wouldn't believe. Tell him not to hurry, the years are coming fast. The days he thinks are ordinary will become the ones he asks for back. I tell him to call his father a little more than he does. Ask him all the questions before the answers turn to dust. Tell him to put the work down when his children call his name. A job can wait until tomorrow. A childhood doesn't stay the same. I tell him not to measure himself by the money in his hand, but by the house he thinks he needs to prove that he's a man. I tell him some doors will close and some people won't stay. Don't spend your whole life trying to make them anyway. If I could tell my younger self, I'd say, son, slow down. The life you're always waiting for is happening right now. Don't be afraid to say you love them. Don't be ashamed to say you're wrong. The strongest man you ever become is the one who knows when he's not strong. If I could tell my younger self, I'd tell him this one thing: you don't have to understand the road to keep walking it. tell them losing someone doesn't mean they disappear. Some people leave this world and somehow stay with you for years. I tell him to forgive himself for all the things he'll get wrong. He'll make mistakes, he'll hurt some people, he'll wonder where he went wrong. But someday he'll sit beneath a porch light with a guitar by his side and finally understand he did the best he could with the life he had. If I could tell my younger self, I'd say, son, slow down. The life you're always waiting for is happening right now. Don't be afraid to say you love him. Don't be ashamed to say you're wrong. The strongest man you ever become is the one who knows when he's not strong. If I could tell my younger self, I'd tell him not to fear the years. They're gonna take some things away, but they'll leave you wiser here. And when you finally look behind you, don't only count the scars. Remember all the little moments that made you who you are. If I could tell that younger man, I'd put my hand upon his shoulder